How's it going, guys? Welcome to a new year and a new decade. I've got a lot of awesome content planned for 2020, so I hope you're all as excited to see it as I am to show it. Today we're going to have a little chit chat about the Apple Watch Series 5 and how it compares to its predecessors, the Series 4 and Series 3, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll have a pretty good idea of whether or not you want to upgrade from the current Apple Watch you have or pick up your first Apple Watch ever. So let's jump straight in. In terms of what's new on the Series 5 versus the Series 4, there's not a whole lot in the looks department. It shares the exact same body dimensions as the Series 4 with the exact same size 1.57-inch OLED screen on the 40mm watch and the 1.78-inch on the 44mm watch. While this does mean you can use the same watch straps and cases or screen protectors as the Series 4, there's not a whole lot that makes this watch stand out against the previous Apple Watch. That is until you stare at it for more than a few seconds and realize that Apple has finally given us an always-on display. My biggest criticism about the Apple Watch over the past few years has finally been resolved. But that does come with a pretty big drawback, which I'll talk about in just a bit. Other than the always-on display, Apple has also included more storage at 32 gigs over last year's 16, a slightly bigger battery, and when I say slight, I mean slight, literally only a 5 milliamp hour increase in the battery size up to 296 milliamp hours, and the Apple S5 CPU, which is actually just a rebadged S4 CPU with little to no performance improvements. On the surface, the Series 5 kind of just seems like a slight tweak to an already decent Apple Watch Series 4, which would be a pretty good TLDR, but there are some cool additions that are unique to the Series 5 this year. One addition is the built-in compass and accompanying app, which will show you your longitude, latitude, your incline, the ground elevation, and it even has this cool little haptic feedback whenever you hit true north. This isn't really something I would use personally, but if you get lost somewhere, it's probably going to be useful. The map app also takes advantage of the built-in compass and seems much more accurate with your position while turning. There's also some new watch faces and complications, including this one that looks a little more like a traditional watch, but like I said earlier though, the biggest real difference between the 4 and the 5 is that always-on display and all of the minor tweaks that were necessary to pull it off. In order to give us that always-on display, Apple made a series of adjustments to both the hardware and the software that would make it so that the battery didn't take such a huge hit while the always-on display mode is enabled. You can disable it, by the way, if you want a longer battery life. After a few seconds, instead of going black like the previous Apple Watches, the Series 5 switches into a low power mode, and the screen's refresh rate throttles back to 1 singular hertz from 60. The screen also dims significantly, but not enough to make it unreadable. The result is an Apple Watch that feels much better to use since you don't have to tilt your arm every time you want to see the time. But of course, there's still one pretty big drawback. The battery life still takes a hit, regardless of what Apple did. With my Series 4, I could easily get nearly 2 full days of battery life on a single charge, as long as those days weren't full of notifications lighting up my watch constantly. On the Series 5, however, that battery life has dwindled to about a day and a half, or on particularly busy days, just a single day. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. All-day battery life is great. Just keep in mind that the always-on display mode will hit the battery fairly hard. So if I were to end the video there, I'd say that there's not a whole lot of reasons to upgrade to a Series 5 if you already have a Series 4, unless you really, really want that always-on display like I did. If you have a Series 3 or older Apple Watch though, things start to get a little interesting. The 3 is starting to look a bit dated with a much larger bezel around the display that becomes apparent when viewing full-screen applications. It's still fine to use, but the Series 4 and 5 have much larger displays that are much nicer to interact with. You also get only 8 gigs of storage on the 3, which can be a big deal if you like to store a lot of music on your watch when you're out for a run. Even the performance on the 3 is getting a little on the laggy side in comparison. While you can't feel the difference between a Series 4 and a Series 5, you definitely can when comparing it to a Series 3. The 3 also lacks some newer features that the 4 and 5 support, like ECG, the noise monitoring feature that was introduced with watchOS 6, and fall detection, which are all pretty major health awareness features. If you want my opinion on which Apple Watch you should buy, it depends on what you already have. If you don't have an Apple Watch currently and you don't care for the always-on display, the Series 4 is a great buy since it's cheaper than the Series 5 is. If you have a Series 4 already though, I'm gonna get burned in the comments for this, but I gotta be honest with you guys. I'd say skip this upgrade and wait for the next one. I love my Series 5, I really do, and the always on display is pretty much a must-have for me personally, but I doubt it's a huge deal for most of you. So like I said, the Series 5 isn't a huge upgrade, so if you already have a 4, take solace in the fact that that's already a great watch and just leave it at that until next year. If you have a Series 3 or older watch though, I'll go out on a limb here and say the upgrade to a 4 or 5 is definitely worth it. The Series 4 brought a lot of much needed tweaks to the Apple Watch lineup, and the Series 5 just adds just a little bit more to make it an even better watch. So that's my take on the Series 5. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to support my content. And as always, have a great day.